Hi everyone, this is Ramanuj here from LawSikho. Welcome to today's session. We have Bithika Anand with us as our guest today. Hi Bithika, how are you?
Hi Ramanuj, how are you? And how's everyone else?
Great. So our request to everybody, please introduce yourself in the chat and just tell us what you do, where you're logging in from, and what questions you have, and we'll take it up. We're also live on YouTube at the same time. And so let's begin. Okay, so Bithika, you have we have shared your introduction with the attendees before, but still, why don't you briefly tell us a little bit about your what you have been doing and what Legal League Consulting does?
Okay, all right. Okay, guys, good afternoon. And so I'm Bithika Anand. I am CEO and a founder of two companies, which is Legally Consulting and Human Elevation. We started Legally Consulting 10 years back, where we are a one-stop shop for all law firms in terms of we help them with their growth to the next level. So we help them with their business planning, strategy, marketing and branding, business development, anything to do under HR, for example, compensation structuring, incentive methodologies, best practices. We also do mergers and acquisitions amongst law firms, as we also see that also as a growth path, inorganic growth path for some of the law firms. So this is what we do for law firms. We also work with legal departments in various areas and we provide them some services also. We also do our own events in which we do convergence of business and law. And other than this, the other company, Human Elevation, is we do talent acquisition for lawyers in corporates as well as in law firms. So briefly, this is what we do.
Okay. You have you have also worked a lot on assisting law firms, even foreign law firms, with their India branding strategy and all. Do you see that so actually one thing I want to ask you is that do you think that the the management of law practices has really picked up, and what is the state of the art right now and what's going on, and also I want to ask you about some of the proud moments you have as a founder of Legal League Consulting, some really major highlights that you would like to share.
Okay, so see, management part of legal practices has obviously picked up a lot in the past 10 years. I still remember the day when I was working with Amarchand and I left, and I thought that whatever I did there, we could replicate it for all the law firms in India. And so obviously at that time, the fraternity was definitely not prepared. The focus was mainly on transacting law or practicing law. The other aspects like management of practicing law as to from the where the businesses will come, how will you retain clients, how will you retain your people, what growth paths are you going to show them, how are you going to grow your clients, so many aspects like these, like your technology, knowledge management, and things like that. So there was no importance, but I have seen in this 10 years, and I mean, I've seen a tremendous change because I've seen when we started off, and actually we introduced this concept amongst law firms, and now you see law firms actually hiring a lot of people for their business support functions, which was never the case. Even you must be seeing some of the larger firms are even looking at COOs and CEOs, which is again something which we never saw even just 10 years back. So obviously there is great amount of importance on the management side, because you see lawyers normally do their legal work very well. They are lawyers, they're qualified, they're professionally qualified to practice law, but they are not professionally qualified to manage their organizations. And when I talk of firms, now firms are no more just, obviously there are some very small firms also, but these firms have also grown in these 15, 20 years so much when the corporate law and when the markets were opened up in early 1990s and the corporate law came in, and we saw a tremendous growth for law firms. Earlier, they were all litigation-based law firms. Even till today, even I tell some of my firms and my clients that if you are just a litigation firm, obviously times have changed. Right now, times are different, but they had to bring in introduce corporate law to their practices to really grow to another level. So proud moments. I can't name the firms, but of course we have seen firms grow right in front of us. When we came into the lives of the law firms, we helped them with their initial marketing. Nobody knew what social media was. Nobody even knew what LinkedIn was and Twitter was in law firms. And we started all of that. We brought in the concept of how human resources are so important, how partnership structuring. Yeah, that's I would say is a proud moment, as we have done equity partnership structuring for quite a few law firms. What does that show? That shows that they are opening up, so it's not only those few founders who start the firm can grow the firm beyond the point they can't grow the firm, and that's why you need more rainmaking partners, equity partners to take the firm to the next level. So we've helped them with that. It is a very, very sensitive and a critical area, because you have to make sure nobody is like kind of affected because of the equity structure. That thing is about sharing profits, at the end of the day, or sharing the decision making of the law firms. With both are equally sensitive and critical for a law firm.
Okay. And when you have worked with so many, how many law firms do you think you have worked over the last 10 years?
We have worked with 500 law firms, minimum 500 law
Minimum
firms,
500
in different areas, capacities.
Right. So when you look at all those organizations, what do you feel really stands out among the people who are outliers in terms of high performance? So the firms which have grown really well, what are the one or two or three things in those firms that really stands out?
Right. So the trends, I would say, the firms who have really done well in the past 15, 20 years is, one I would repeat, is they have they have started, or they did corporate law or introduced corporate law in some way. I'm not saying just mergers and acquisitions, every other parts of other kind of laws, not just pure litigation. So that's a trend I have seen. Secondly, I've also seen those firms who have focused on professionalizing their business support functions, or giving more importance to how actually marketing is done, how business development is done, other aspects, how to people. They have also, I think, have grown. So that's another trend I see. And also I see another trend is in the past few years towards specialization. I have seen earlier when we started off, or even like I would say 15 years back, there was a big concept of full service firm. It is still very much there. When I meet a lot of law firms, they want to be a full service law firm. But I think because of the age of specialization, and a lot of sophistication is required for various kind of advice that you give, so it is necessary to get started specialized. So I think even boutique and specialization, it's a recent trend, but I think those firms are also doing very well when they're sticking to certain niche areas and not trying to know everything and anything under the name of law.
Great. So as we proceed, I'll request everybody who has logged in to just take a moment and just introduce yourself in the chat. So there are many people watching this live on YouTube. There's a YouTube live chat. Okay. So kindly introduce yourself in the chat. I will just open the chat also for all of you. Okay, and just tell us where you are logging in from, what do you do. So once we know, the audience, it is easier for us to take up the right questions, and also to discuss those topics which will add most value to you, right? So okay, so with that, I will wait for your responses in the chat. Okay, please go ahead and type it out in the chat. Introduce yourself, and also when you introduce yourself, all the other people who are attending the session would come to know about you, and you can connect later. It's really good, right? So just go ahead and share your background would be wonderful. Okay, so Bithika, when you shared something very important, that the trends that looks like there are some markers that kind of marks out the law firms which do very well. Uh, where do you think things are headed after COVID? Because a lot of law firms are under pressure. Some law firms have cancelled recruitment. Some of them have postponed bonuses, salaries, etc. So what does it look like? Which are the law firms which are in a very good position to survive this disruption?
Yeah. So before I get into, get into this, which firms and which kind of firms, I would say. But I think first and foremost, obviously, there is no doubt that it's a very challenging time, and it's a very uncertain time also. So I won't even say that there are different firms. Obviously, there'll be shades of gray there, but I think everybody is going through the same circumstances, because here we are first not looking at any economic kind of lesser of economic activity leading to recession. We are first looking for is fear of death, because disease is still very much there. So I think before any law firms to think of any which way to survive, which I'll just say how they can even do that, and how they can even evolve themselves during this time, is first and foremost is all lawyers and law firms have to take care of themselves for all the precautions, because if there are no law firms left, so there is no further discussion. So I think, guys, you have to be very careful. It's just a little bit digressed from the main topic, but I think you need to take a lot of precautions. I think that is the first and foremost as a lawyer that you can do for your society. I think let's begin with that. And secondly, of course, we are all going through a tough time, and it is all about the survival of the fittest. Now, you see, one thing is there, that we all get so bogged down, so hassled, so fretting, stressful, that our brains and minds become numb. We cannot think of any solutions when your mind is stressed out and it's numb. It becomes numb. Let me tell you, even in these times, we as human beings have a lot of human instincts to survive. Okay, so we do innovate, we do find ways to survive and adapt ourselves to in these circumstances, and make a go of it also. I mean, sometimes it takes a bit of a time to get into that mode, but I see firms already doing it. So a couple of things which I see which are interesting is to of course, when it comes to survival, obviously the firms which are more nimble, which are lean, which have some reserves with them, obviously the survival of those firms will be for a longer time, but that is also not forever, right? So that is also for interim period it will be. So that is why I said everybody's in the same situation. So some people, and also it depends on how their owners think. So some owners, I find when I'm talking to various this thing, some want to bring in their personal savings into the company to make it survive for a longer period. Some don't want to do that. Some have reserves and they want to use that reserves, cash reserves, more this thing. So if they have X amount of cash reserves, so they rather make it last for a longer period of time by distributing in some sort of a manner, why, and keeping in mind the sensitivities of everybody. The other thing which I saw was most senior people in some organizations and in quite a few came up on their own to also say that, because they were very highly paid, whether they are your partners or equity partners, they are very highly paid. So they came on their own because to let go, because I think today, in today's time, all of must have observed your expenses have really gone down. To survive on just simple food and whatever you can do at home is nothing much. So you have to keep all these things in mind. Your expenses are less. So people who were earning probably way higher, because the expenses were different when they were non-COVID days, they can let go, right? So there are various ways people are trying to sustain and retain. It is not, I think, anymore, and there is also growth, and I will again come back to growth part. I think there are also, in these times, if you can survive and sustain during this time and come out alive, is actually a growth for all of you, because it's a tough time that you have to save. So we don't have to justify the firm by making too many profits, or we don't have to justify. We have to keep people together. We have to keep the firm together and firm going till such time you come out of this depression or you come out of this situation.
Right. So, and basically, right now, you were saying that law firms should rather focus on survival rather than growth, right, at the moment. Uh, are there some areas or some firms which are also seeing growth even in this
Yes.
environment? Yeah. Would you tell
Yeah,
us
so
more
I
about
think,
that?
yeah, sorry, I will just getting cut. You were getting cut. Sorry. Yeah, Ramanu, just repeat it, please.
Yeah, I was saying that, are there some law firms or law practices which are seeing growth during this time, and what is causing this growth?
Yeah, see, so growth is going to be used very differently. You can first think of your own internal growth, which is called intrinsic, which is from within you, from within the organization. There are so many things as a law firm. When you have a lot of work, we haven't never looked at our own internal processes and systems. Like, for example, how to make yourself more technical savvy. We always wanted, law firms always want technology, but I have yet to see, other than this COVID time, they even thinking of technology that much. So have you ever heard of, your court cases happening on Zoom and things like that? And even internally, the very fact that all of us are working remotely, see the kind of efficiencies it is bringing in. So when I term growth with efficiency also, and I'll give you a few examples. For example, now you have time to understand, let us say you are doing, let us say mergers and acquisitions, you make a shareholders agreement, right? There's a next time which normally applies to making a shareholders agreement. When you are so busy with so many of your clients, you're so busy doing so many things, you've never thought of identifying a template for your shareholders agreement and finding out the time that will take to make that agreement. So when the recession hit in 2008, and in foreign firms, what they did was they started standardizing and templatizing all their documents. So what they did was they found that X time. So obviously, if you start working towards that time, you have already built in an efficiency factor, which is a profitable and a growth factor, because you're finishing that thing in an X number of time. You have more hours available for doing something else. So this is just one of the things which you probably never thought of doing. You could now think of doing, just take basic documents and tell people that you should normally, otherwise I have seen in firms, people are taking for that same document 3 hours when they're supposed to finish it in 1 hour. So because of this situation, it is making us more time conscious. It is making us that how much we can achieve in that given time that we have more efficiently. So our productivity goes up. So you have to work on your productivity. You have to see your internal systems, and you have to maybe focus on your building your relationships. You have to maybe just pick up the phone and say hello to all those people you've not said hellos in the past 5 years. I'm sure there are people, because you're right in front, there is a client, you're doing that matter, you have 10 more matters lined up. Where is the time to say hello to anybody? So it's time to kind of build relationships, to go back to your people, to look at new prospects, to look at new things that you can do in the firm. Other than, of course, in business support, I find there are lots of things people can do. Obviously, there are so many of there who write very well. They have never written. You could write a book. You could do some analysis on a legal topic. There are so many things. I mean, I just don't want to go on and on. We have a list of those things that probably you can do, which is called internal growth. So what will happen is, during this time, when you practice all of that, this is not going to go away. Like, for example, people who have got the taste of having a remote office, they will never have a physical office. Do you know how much costs you save over there? That same cost, you can take more people, better people. You can put that money somewhere else for the growth of your firm than on share, like a building or an office, on an infrastructure. So similarly, like technology, everybody knows how people are using it. You think it should be used to such an extent that we never go back. We never go back to a life without technology. Like, for example, if I have to do a business meeting with somebody in London, today I'm doing it on Zoom with zero cost and zero time spent, like in terms of travel time, right? Otherwise, you take a ticket, you fly, you go to London, you sit there, you do, and what different that have you achieved by being on, like, closely physical? It is not. In our profession, we can afford to do that. There are professions we can't afford to. Obviously, if you have a beauty parlor or something, you cannot do it from a distance. Anything for the person's hair. I mean, again, digressing,
No,
right? But just giving you an example.
Even there are people who are still doing things, right? They're making videos.
They are doing that, telling you how to do it on the video.
How to do it on the video, yeah.
Correct.
And they're selling kits for you to do it at home, whatever, right? So Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing, one more point also, there are many points, but I'll just tell you about this, is your relationships between your people in the firm. Or it haven't you seen that you become more closer? Haven't you seen that you're working more together and you're working harder together and you're working more? You're working more. Haven't you seen this change in COVID? That people are working more, because and obviously I'm looking at senior people right now. I'm looking at senior people or mid level, not very junior level. I've seen there's a drastic, whoever I call, they all tell me, oh God, Bithika, we are working harder than what we were doing earlier. Why? Because to survive now they have to think of so many things that they need to do other than doing clients work, right? So I think internal efficiency is very,
It was like a
sorry.
easy going thing earlier where, yeah, I was just saying that it was a easy going thing. It was going on and things were fine. But now the crisis is forcing people to think new and like work with on new projects, I believe. Like that's a very good point that you made.
Yeah, right. And I think the best part is, during the toughest times of your life, believe me, during the toughest times of your lives, your best comes out. And what I want to tell everybody is, when your best is coming out during this time, don't go back when the times are fine, because this will take you to a new height of your own growth and evolution which you've never experienced before. You don't have to go
Right,
back,
right.
so you will be so surprised that the things you're doing now, and when the COVID is over, when you will continue to do it, you will see your profitability going up. You see your quality of work becoming better. You see your people getting retained better, because you have had those close relationships. Now when people are, when human beings are scared and are full of fear, they just kind of talk more to each other, right?
Right. But as
So
a law firm, also another aspect of this is that, you have, as a lawyer or a law firm, you have to go where the money is. So there are the work, nature of work sometimes changes, certain areas come up
right,
that has more work. So in that way, there are a lot of work that is increasing. There are other work that has decreased. For example, insolvency was toast of town till some time back.
right,
Going and filing cases under IBC, but suddenly there's a moratorium on that for a long time. Now, on the other hand, restructuring of bank loans is there's a huge demand. Like suddenly every loan is up for renegotiation and restructuring,
right,
and banks do not have the
right,
bandwidth to do it. So there's a lot of work.
right.
So there would be such new trends that are constantly arising in the market out of the situation. For
Yeah,
a
so
while back, there was a lot of work on simply getting e-commerce companies delivery licenses and like curfew passes. I mean, that was some law firms have made a lot of money from just doing that. If you can throw
right.
some light on that, how to
You see,
notice
I think courts have like opened up for limited hearings and maybe criminal hearings, but the moment courts are going to go up, we see litigation is obviously going to be there, especially also a lot of this thing on contracts and agreements, because contracts and agreements that people are into, they will not be able to fulfill those their whatever conditions in it. So there will be lot of maybe just internal, like in corporate advisory. I think the corporate advisory is going to go up, and litigation is also going to go up. The work is going to go up. But when anything goes up, there are obviously more competition comes in, pricing becomes an issue, it reduces for the cases that you will get and things like that. But that's part and parcel of any market situation. But I see some of these areas, and I don't see lawyers not having work, because I've seen lawyers having work during recession, lawyers having work during boom. Even in 2008, I still remember I was in Amarchand, and we still had a lot of work, where the market was down. So certain areas like litigation at that time actually picked up a lot during recession. So wherever there's discrepancy, whether you
and
are like,
also. Yeah, also on the back of what you had just said to the previous question, I think a lot of law firms at that point, certain law firms did not have litigation teams, did
yeah,
not have, they had mostly corporate transactions and they were all paid down. They had no work, right? But they corrected the gap. Law
right,
firms later on diversified into areas which are recession friendly, so that kind of this time I think no big law firm is particularly suffering because they have, if one kind of work reading, the other is increasing.
No, you say litigation firms are suffering?
No. I said there are the big law firms. Some big law firms really suffered in the 2008-9 recession.
Right, they did.
Because they did not have any deals coming through, and they were only focusing on deals at that point of time.
In fact, after that, I see a lot of firms start their litigation practices.
Exactly.
Some of them didn't have them at all.
Yes.
They were only focused on corporate. So these dynamics obviously change. It is the need brings the new cases, new laws are going to come up for surely. A lot of things because COVID is like, this is once in a lifetime. It's not that we've gone through COVID many times.
Once in a century, not even a lifetime.
Once in a century, and so it will bring some life-changing ways of life, really life-changing. And I think people should be positive. People should adapt to them quickly and get going and make the most of it, rather than worry about it too much and things like that. See, you have to accept certain things. Like I'm going a little bit philosophical, but you need to accept some things are not in your hands. You have to accept it, and then you see how a human mind works in so much of innovation and so many things. And I think firms are okay. They are all right now. The sentiment of the managing partners is they're all applying their mind as to how to keep their team intact for a long period of time.
Okay. There's normally we take questions. Bithika, can you hear me? Am I audible?
Now I can hear you. Actually, for some time I couldn't hear you at all.
Okay.
See you move or hear you. Yeah.
Okay, right. No problem. Okay, so I was asking. There's a question. Okay, this question came from Dhwanit. He was asking, what would be the good time? Like, is it a good time to start a law firm right now, or should we wait?
Interesting, but I think if he wants to start a law firm, he should, because if he's starting his law firm in the toughest times, I'm sure he's going to be very successful when the times are over. So I think it's also good that he can do all the base work for starting his law firm, which is, there is some amount of work is required to do that. You need to do your whatever, your everything on your collaterals. You can work on your websites, you can work on all of that, decide areas, decide the people that you want to bring in, and slowly start, with meeting the right kind of people, your future prospects and all that. I think I'm a kind of person, I'm myself doing 2-3 new things in this area of COVID. So I cannot ever advise anybody that don't do it. So I'm myself doing a couple of new things in this area, and I think it's a fantastic time to do it, because you will come out much stronger and much more this thing in when COVID is not there. Yeah.
Great. In fact, what are the areas in which you are seeing a surge in demand of services from law firms?
You're talking about what I'm thinking.
Yes. So, no, from your.
I am thinking is something very different. It's like, I think I have done some, Hogan assessments, which goes very well with selecting and learning and development of people, and then also coaching going forward. So, but I think it's a good time for you're talking of legal, what the lawyers should be doing, right? What lawyers? See, lawyers. No,
I was asking as a service provider, where are you seeing surge in demand from law firms?
Obviously, digital marketing is one. So I also suggest that lawyers doesn't mean you only want to remain lawyers all your life. With that, you can do any other area, any other skill set you can develop during this time. So I think skill sets which can maybe assist you more internally in either doing your own marketing, doing your own social media better. Like social media marketing is one in digital marketing. So these are some of the areas which are, and of course technology. You can start using more technology, because technology, there are lots of software, there are a lot of things you can, if you're good in technology yourself, then build it around your systems to have more efficient systems. For example, archiving your own documents. I'm not talking of very fancy systems which costs a lot of money. I'm talking of in-house developing your own systems. So if you're tech savvy, or use technicians or people who are good in this to develop all that for you to become more efficient by just using technology. So these two areas just come to my mind, which can be very, very effective for any lawyer to get into. Doesn't matter, even if you're just a lawyer, you can be good, you can be savvy in technology, and you can be savvy in your digital marketing or kind of stuff that you want to social media marketing and things like that.
Understood.
Of course, there are lots of things. If somebody wants to learn how to do speaking in public, they can do that. Writing in English, content writing, so important. Lawyers are normally good at doing their own kind of writing, which is legal writing, but other kind of writing. So there are lots of things I think lawyers can think of doing. And
now lawyers have a new thing, webinars, which they didn't have before.
I know it's already very boring, guys. No, it's not that because you're doing, or even we feel we also are doing it, but I feel that webinars, if I look at the number of webinars that are going on a daily basis, it's like it is exploded. It's just exploded.
But is it really?
No,
when I think about the number of lawyers available in India, so there are like lakhs of lawyers, and most of them are still not watching.
Yeah, see, I'm not talking about the concept of using Zoom and webinar as a concept. I think they should be nomenclature should be changed. You're using webinar as a technique to reach out to so many people. That's your Zoom and things like. But so it is like a seminar through a web, which is called webinar, right? But you can derive some more interesting nomenclature. So don't you have to every time hear the word webinar. You can have an interactive session. You can call it a workshop. You can call it one-on-one. You can call it so many other things. You can innovate rather than just having a webinar. So, but definitely reaching out to so many people, we can only do through Zoom or to this kind of technology. We can't do it otherwise.
Right.
And it's a fantastic way of reaching.
Yes,
fantastic way of reaching out to people. Exchanging your ideas and views, and really, really fantastic.
Great. So there's a question, and I think this question is on a lot of people's mind. Neha is asking, which sectors in law firms do you feel will be in most demand? Like, for example, real estate, litigation, general law.
Yeah.
What do you think? What are the major trends?
See, I don't know. There is a lot of research done and is being done by various people, and we get a lot of these WhatsApp messages. If you see on the industry sectors, which are greener areas, you call them. Obviously, like we know, aviation, tourism is completely gone, and we don't see it reviving for some time. I think the first and the foremost area.
But that doesn't mean there won't be legal work in aviation. There will be a lot of work, as you know.
There are a lot of work.
All your aircraft leases have to be renegotiated. Even in aviation, interestingly, whatever the industry is in trouble, there is more work because all the aircraft leases have to be renegotiated. New settlements have to be done. Then dues of airports.
Yeah, but if you're looking at growth in those sectors in terms of growth, like these are all the things which are there will be there in every sector. Now, real estate also, for that matter, there are everywhere where there are, like I said, contracts. Like I use the word agreements, contracts. There will be work, irrespective of the sector. So it's a practice area driven also. So, but I think pharmaceuticals and healthcare is one. Agri-based industry is another one. Technology is another one. And then I think your staple foods, that's another one. So there are lot of people have done research on these areas, which are the areas which they think will be more sustainable in the coming months. Obviously, it will be clearly based on the needs. What are the needs of the society today? So if you apply that formula, so whichever area is being whichever sector is giving those needs, so those are the areas that are going to grow, and you should think of either investing if you don't have the capability or expertise. And definitely, like you said, aviation, anything, like for that matter, like even malls are shut, but I'm sure all those malls people, they would have either cancelled, done a stop payment to all their checks of rents. So clearly some issues, there will be issues coming on. They don't want to continue with the leases, with whoever. So there are issues come. That's why I said lawyers are never going to be out of business. So I right now also, like I was talking to some lawyers, they said there is so much work happening on force majeure. Like there's lot of discussions people are having, and they are talking to their lawyers on that count also.
So definitely litigation, renegotiation, arbitration, mediation, these will be like in very high demand. All sorts of litigation, and of course you would think that perhaps there will be certain M&A activity also happening, and there's all this talk.
In fact, M&A activity is still happening. It's surprising, but some of the law firms I've spoken to, they are busy with the M&A activity.
Okay, and investment law also definitely happening.
Yeah.
So and of course the banking sector would have a lot of work, because banking finance would be stressed, and there will be loans that would go bad, and there will be massive.
Even your, I think, distress asset practice.
Right. Distressed asset practice, which is a part of banking and finance practice, would definitely look very interesting. What about IPR? Some people are asking. There are some things which are like perennial. There's no difference.
Right.
And in fact, there'll be more money invested in innovation, in media. So IPR has a bright future, I believe, because very steady, very strong.
A lot of things on the new medicines and vaccines and things like
and new content.
But let
piracy.
me tell you, but see, these are all areas, maybe some areas of growth, some areas are problems, so lawyers. But generally, the work has gone down. There's no doubt about it. I would say at least up to 40 to 50%. The billings have gone down in firms, whatever said and done. And then after that, even the recoveries of the past billings, there are issues on recovery or outstandings, because people are looking for discounts. See, the thing is it's not that here anybody is like a devil or a god or somebody is bad or good. Everybody is in that 360 degree, and everybody is surrounded with the same issues. Is nowhere, money is nowhere. So it is going to have an effect everywhere. So you can't say, oh, he owed it to me, he should give it to me. Now he also doesn't have it. Now why he doesn't have it also, we can analyze why he can't have it. So it's like a vicious circle right now. And I think we have to just kind of try and break it and come out of it and move on. And rather than just like kind of, again, wondering, where my money is going and what is happening to it.
Right. How is recruitment going to be impacted? Because you are in the recruitment space. So are you seeing senior level recruitment? Yeah.
There are no recruitments, Ramanuj, right now. Very few recruitments are happening in those sectors. Legal though nahi hai koi bhi recruitment cause. Legal sector, we are not seeing any much recruitments unless somebody needs somebody very desperately for the work that they have in hand and they cannot execute it, and they need an expert for that purpose, then they will hire. Otherwise, nobody's hiring in the legal sector. But in other sectors which are growing, where there is activity, business
like
activity in those areas, So I suppose even for that matter, IT and things like that, maybe there could be there is some this thing, but from my little bit of a research, I'm seeing a very generally low everywhere in all sectors, I would say.
Correct. So people should prepare for a very tough job market going forward.
Right.
And nobody knows how long. No idea how long this should last, right? Because
it's absolutely uncertain. Absolutely. But I think people should just retain their jobs that they have, unless they're very miserable in their jobs. Then obviously they can move on. But they should retain. Obviously, you will have to work harder. So if you earned rupees 100 by making an effort of, let's say, 2, this time it will be 2 into 5 or 2 into 3 to earn that same 100 rupees. Absolutely. So that concept has to you can't just say कि हाँ मैं तो इतना ही काम करता था.
In LawSikho, we say that we have to work 3 times more to be at.
Yeah, 3 times more.
Yeah, that's what we want.
Or if not more, or it's not working, it's also like applying yourself, applying your mind, applying to see the new ways of doing things. I think this is coming out as a more strong point than just working. Working anybody can do. I think
we have to do innovation.
You need to innovate, you need to think and see what all you can do now, probably which you were not doing earlier, which will make a difference to your practice.
Absolutely. Where do you think, the job market, like your earliest prediction in terms of when the job market start looking up again?
This is your talking the legal job market?
Legal.
Yeah. So legal job market is
6 months.
Like I just said, yeah. So you're saying when it is, see, again, it depends on how fast we can.
Not anytime soon.
Yeah. So I can't say it's going to be 3 months, 6 months. See, everybody is not, see, there could be interesting.
So let's say the lockdowns lift next month. Okay, in the month of June, the lockdown.
Who to replace, how to get their organization right sized. So it's not about just recruiting people; it is recruiting the right kind of talent. You see, but that is open to everybody anytime, right? When this right now they are a little bit hesitant, but I am very sure after a few months, if things don't, even in the legal market, you may end up letting go of your people who are not that great or good and are not performers, and replacing with performers.
So non-performers are going to have a very difficult time hiding in the organization efficiency despite not doing good work,
now
hoping that somebody else.
Because every penny that you're paying to your human resources, everybody is going to look at it very critically now. It's not that they will say, हाँ ठीक है इतना काम आ रहा है चलने दो, ये भी कर रहा है करने दो, इसको भी अभी क्या बोलना है. Normally, I find managing partners in India very in the sense hesitate to tell people to go. I've seen a general tendency, so it just goes on. But when it is hitting you hard, and when it's the person is not performing, I think we will see a bit of that phenomena.
Lot more aggressive firing and non-tolerance of non-performance. Khilan Singh is asking, Legal Consulting is still hiring lawyers. It's a comment. I don't know. It's a question or a comment.
Who is hiring?
Khilan Singh. They're saying that you are still hiring.
Who is hiring?
Legal Consulting is hiring. He's saying.
I don't know. Link Legal is the name, or which other?
No, Legal Consulting. Your firm.
We are still hiring. No, I didn't know that. No. We are hiring, but we are not hiring that much. Really, it's very low. It's really low. Yes, but we have not given up. I'm not going to shut this window off just because of COVID. So if we can help some people down the line during this tough time also, we are moving and we are proceeding with that. Like I said, people could be looking for people who they need that special expertise, or they need a better person, or more qualified, more senior. There could be anything. It's going to just start now, because I think all the firms have just like kind of like they are just standing right now. What has hit them.
They are waiting to see what happens. But interestingly, although we are not a recruiter, but we have a placement office for our LawSikho course students, and we are getting some job, like not as many as it normally used to come, but some opportunities are there. Like I would say like maybe 20% or 30% of what it used to be, but still there.
So still, if I have to compare it from the times just before COVID, there is a lot of difference. So that's why I'm saying it's nowhere near that. But definitely it's not zero.
It's not zero. There is a question about, your views on completely remote law firms and the perspective of clients towards such remote law firms. Can there be remotely working law firms?
Yes, definitely. In fact, I am looking at as next is to actually advise people how they become virtually run law firms. In fact, after what we are going through and what I'm seeing, and it's already there abroad in foreign, internationally, they're already looking at it in a very, very, comprehensive manner as to how you can be a virtually run law firms. So I do see this concept going on even after COVID. So this has to and I believe it. I think this concept works very well. Obviously, it works well with the people who are self-motivated, because right now, we have a couple of softwares that have come in who can monitor your productivity and usage of time when you're working remote from home. There is also a bit of that, you are lost to people. You don't see those people for some time, but you can see them through these kind of equipment and things like that. So there are pluses and minuses of a remote this thing, but in a situation like today, where I think this is it's not even just a choice, it's a necessity. We have a necessity issue right now. But tomorrow, when it's a choice issue, I would still advise for having a remote office, because you save so much on your rent, on your other expenses. You can meet sometime. You can meet. There are so many other places you can meet. You don't have to be physically meeting people every day. And if you can monitor and you can, I think you engage more. I think you have more of these, calls, more calls when you are working. When you're not working remote, I hardly used to have any calls. Nowadays, I have so many more calls with my own colleagues, which is like very, very surprising. But so from every point of view, I would recommend that we should move towards remote working and virtual law offices.
There's a question about, how would junior lawyers who are getting laid off, what is your advice to them? How can they bounce back? KK is asking.
No, sorry, junior lawyers.
Junior lawyers who got laid off, how can they bounce back?
Okay. See, I think if they've got laid off, obviously, one is that they can keep applying to other law firms. The chances of being taken, considering their junior lawyers, may not be that much. But I think it's a wonderful opportunity for junior lawyers to maybe start something on their own and on a very small scale, because there is no
Most
choice.
Importantly, I think upskilling is very important at this time. If you're getting laid off, then why did you get laid off? Because everybody did not get. So there may be some performance issues, and you need to look at it very hard and self-critical look is necessary. And to
education, they could educate themselves further. Yes. They could enhance their skill sets and also educate, like not only just the skills part of it. They can just educate. They can do an MBA. They can do an LLM. They can do anything, because and it's very interesting question he raised, because I know a lot of people during recession times actually go back to education because they said ki hum kya kare abhi, kuch kar to sakte nahi. So they get educated and then they come back.
It's not a great time for education right now, because you can't travel, classes are not happening, and mostly everything is postponed. In reality, admission tests are also postponed, right? So nothing is happening right now. Really. But one thing maybe they can do, maybe they can write articles, publish, participate in.
But education is happening. There are schools, colleges are running on.
CLAT, for example, CLAT exam has been postponed twice already, and not clear whether it will happen in June also. That is for lawyers, people who want to.
There are so many online courses that are going on.
Right, online courses is an option, but like Harvard has cancelled its admissions right now. Like they said, we'll take it later. We'll see. There are other universities which are offering, but then you don't. If you, let's say you want to go to Stanford, you don't want to attend classes online. So that becomes an issue that you are, you want to actually.
I don't know. Maybe Ramanuj, they may have to. So I don't think so. Just because you're Stanford and Harvard and Oxford, you can't do online sessions and can't educate people.
Yeah, but people have an aspiration of going and personally attending also in the campus, right? So they,
and
they
don't in the camp. If given a choice, everybody. If no choice, then what do you do? Yeah. Let go of your Harvard, Stanford degree for the place that you just want to physically be there.
No, they think that okay, I'll do it next year when things are better. If I'm going to spend 50 lakh rupees, rather I'll do it on campus.
Then he has to find something now to do now, because the whole issue is he has nothing to do right now. So we are figuring out.
No, I think it is possible to write articles, improve your networks. I think those things even junior lawyers can do. Nothing stop. It's not only law firms and law.
They can work on their own brand themselves. They can work by they will work on their own personal social media. They can do some analysis, some research papers. There are so many
things you can do. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a whole lot of things you can do, and so that you come out stronger out of this, right? What would be the impact on salary and bonus? People is asking.
There will be, guys, there will be an impact. If situation doesn't improve and we don't recoup or come out of it very quickly in a month or two, then I don't think so people have such deep pockets that they can just kind of continue to pay you the same salary as you were getting earlier. And I think there's nothing negative in it. Both the founders and employees should work together on this, because they all know that this is not being done purposely for any reason. There is a situation like this. So I think there will be some cuts. There, how it is, the modus operandi will differ from firm to firm, from the founder to founder. We have also given a lot of advice in this respect, to depending on what is comfortable for the firm to do and for what the founders would like to do also. So people should be prepared for it, and they should continue with the performance. Performance is extremely important. If your performance continues to be very, very good, chances of you getting a reduced salary also is going to be less. But whether performance, no performance, some things will happen in future for sure.
There's a question that all my clients are having cash flow crunch from YouTube. It is a vicious circle. Regardless, need to be sensitive with clients and feeling the need to diversify client base. So on this, what is
I didn't get it. What is it that you said about? I didn't get it. The first sentence I didn't get it.
I'll
Cash
reply. All my clients are having cash flow crunch.
Yeah.
It is a vicious circle. Regardless, need to be sensitive with clients and feeling the need to diversify client base. So any comment on this, that on being sensitive with clients?
So first and foremost is there'll be situations where clients are using this to the hilt for not paying up also. Let me also tell you that very frankly and very candidly. Okay, so it's not that always the clients will not have money to pay. Sometimes they're using this nahi hai paise, ye hai, wo, and all that. But assuming they are not paying because they're in some sort of a jiffy or in a situation where they can't pay. So see, like sensitivity, very important, because at this point of time, you have to have some empathy for your client work also. Because let me tell you, if you help somebody during dire straits situations, they always remember you. Your relationship, they will never ever forget that, okay, when I was in a dire strait situation, I had a problem, let's say with my landlord or with some severe legal problem, and my lawyer helped me out and he didn't charge me anything, or he charged me very less. Believe me, he will never forget you, never forget you. So you're always going to be his advisor, a trusted advisor over a long time, unless you goof up. But otherwise, I think that, so this opportunity is there for you. You can look at this like as an opportunity. So it depends on who your client is and how much that client has supported you in the past, because you would have also earned money from that client, right? So one aspect is this, to handle it from the empathy point of view. The other is, if the client is just difficult and you are unable to get your outstandings from him, then you see you have only two ways. Either you will spoil your relationship by screaming, shouting, and saying, "You give my money back." Even if you scream, shout, your client will go away and will not pay. So, and in other situation also, you will not get your money. So you need to figure it out, how you want to tackle the situation for yourself. And I think it depends from client to client. Diversifying clients into other things and finding better clients, I have my doubts on it, because clients are always a mixed lot. Sometimes you just lucky end up getting good clients, sometimes you end up getting not very good clients.
Right, but having a concentration of all clients into one or two industry areas is very dangerous, right? So
yes, and also having just few clients, just having a major, like 90% of your income coming from one client and two clients is very, very dangerous. That is, from a business development point of view, we do not recommend. You have to have a diversified portfolio of people, and have either in the same practice area, same different industry sector, whatever you want. So there are industry sectors as well as practice area you have to keep in mind to diversify. And obviously depends on what strengths you have.
There's a question from Tansim Galiwala. She's asking if it is a good time to engage a consultancy firm to revive our existing brand position of a law firm.
Yes, I think it's a very good opportunity, because most of the times I used to find all managing partners so busy, they would have no time to talk to us, but now they have all the time to talk to us, or have some time to talk to us. So it's good to get them to get them involved in this whole process for their firm, because I think it can do wonders. Even now in this stage, it can do wonders.
Yeah, when people are busy, they don't do the other essential work, like
now they are thinking that writing such interesting articles, they are doing an analysis, research, they are looking into their social media, they are they're doing so many things now. So I think it's a good time.
Wonderful. So I think we have exhausted our time. But if anybody has any few last questions, please you can raise your hand. I can allow you to speak on the mic also. If you have a question you want to ask directly to Bithika, please raise your hand. And I think we have answered most of the questions. Otherwise, so let's see if somebody responds. So Bithika, any parting message? What is your final message on evolution of law firms?
My message is that you will continue to evolve. Evolving, like the topic was, the evolving doesn't mean externally only, that you have high revenues and all that. There is an evolving process from within the organization. You should focus more on it, which will go a long way when COVID opens. So this is my parting shots. Also, there is no need to be stressed or worried. You may make a little bit less money, but also let me tell you, expenses have also gone down during this period drastically. So it's okay. People shouldn't stress out on mera salary cut ho jayega, bonus nahi milega. I think people will continue to give promotions and other rewards if they don't give increments and bonuses, etc. And this is only because the times are such. But keep up the hard work and keep up your.
This is the time to work harder. Yeah.
Harder and keep your survival instincts on, guys. You will all do well.
Okay, great. So do give us your feedback, everybody, whoever attended the session. We have a Facebook group now where we are, apart from the WhatsApp groups, now there's a Facebook group where we are enabling the discussions. I'll also add Bithika, if you are on Facebook, would love to add you on our Facebook group where people might ask some follow-up questions. So if you have any other questions anytime,
no issues.
Reach out on the group. And I would request that all of you join the Facebook group. If you don't have access, just reach out to us and we will add you. Okay. And one last thing is that we have a legal practice management course in which, in fact, Nipun Bhatia, who's attending the session and who works with Bithika as Vice President Legal Consulting, also teaches some classes. And would be wonderful if anybody is interested in the law practice management course to look it up. And thank you for joining. Thank you, Bithika, so much for making time.
Okay, welcome, guys. All the best.
Thank you. All the best. Take care. Bye.